I'm Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp and welcome to this week's episode of the What the Heck podcast. This week I have as a guest someone that I've known for many years and her name is Moira Hutchinson, and Moira likes to be called a mindset cultivator, and I think right then and there I think we can focus on that. So welcome to the show, Moira.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nathalie. It's an honor to be here.
Good. So let's start with your title, because I think that will lead into what exactly you do for people and how you got there, because I'm always interested in knowing people's journey.
Absolutely. So this new title has come, it's quite recent, this mindset cultivator. I have gone through many different labels and mindfulness coach, hypnotherapist, life coach. But in essence, what I'm doing is I help people get clear on what mindset blocks are keeping them stuck or playing small or not finding what their life purpose is. And I help them find out what they are. And so therefore doing that is like plucking out the weeds. And then we get to plant the flowers and the blooms of their own potential. Is basically where that came from.
And how long have you been helping people doing this? Because this might be a new title per se, but I know that you've been helping people doing this for a long time. So how did you get into this field of wanting to help people getting unstuck? And this was what we're going to focus on too as well.
Absolutely. And so I have a very sort of vast knowledge base, but my story actually started when I was 18 and I was in a cult. I was in a cult for 2 years. So that was, to me, that's the epitome of being stuck, because I was, searching for my purpose and my sense of meaning in life, and basically gave away all my power. And so that's where I'm coming from when I help people get unstuck, get clear on that mindset and what is it that they bring into this life. But the sort of journey into the healing work that I do took quite a sort of a many detours and lots of different experiences for me. I burnt out a number of times in my life, basically trying to fast track into the real world after I'd come out of a cult. I ended up burning myself out because I am a bit of an A-type personality who works very hard and says yes to everything, and then wonders how on earth I'm going to do that. And so a lot of the training, I've taken many different types of training of different modalities and therapies to help get clear on what is it that makes us do that. I think it's a propensity of many people to overdo things, to think they're not worthy, to think they're different to everybody else and they've got to work harder or they're not deserving of certain things. And so it's to come to a place of this mindset cultivation of we are all worthy. We are all in the right place. But sometimes it takes some of these hacks, knowing some of these hacks that you talk so well about really getting clear of I am different from other people, but I'm not. And so therefore we can share different ways and tools of getting clear and getting in touch with the true piece of it is that we are all crying out at the core for unconditional love. Mm-hmm. And really that's where we're going. That's what this is all about, is how can we feel that within? How can we share it with people around us? And how can we actually really recognize that it's there and that we have the right for that?
Mm-hmm. And it's funny how sometimes we are trying to make things more complex or simplify things. But I know that, through the work I've done personally, when with one of my coach, when I was asking him tons of questions, I said, almost what's the purpose of life? And when it came down to exactly what you said, well, being happy and unconditional love, I'm like, can it be this simple? And you know what? It is. And we're busy with life, being bombarded by this and that, and the fear of missing out, or shiny objects and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's that simple. So I know that, having even heard you speak before, one of the things that you really help people, like you've mentioned, is getting unstuck. And I think, if I am to explain how I perceive that, is that a lot of people will have, when it comes to health or physical health and emotional health, will feel like they're spinning, spinning in circle, that they're not moving forward, and they feel like they're not just stuck, but also they're giving up. They're just, oh well, it's I can't do this, and so forth. So for me, I know that I always start with having a big enough why, because we need to understand why we want to move forward towards something, and then the process of getting unstuck and figuring out the why, to me, are together, because we have to figure out where that maybe sense of, or if there's a lack of self-love, why is that? And I'm always fascinated by psychology. In a house, you said earlier that you have, before we got on the podcast, you have 4 other siblings. So why is it that 5 people raised in the same house will do completely different things? Technically, they grew up with the same amount of attention and love and so forth. So we are very, very complex, but I find that fascinating. And when it comes to health, being stuck, a lot of people are. So I know that you've come up with a 5-step process, and love for you to take us through that. And maybe you can give us kind of one example, and then walk us through the process with that specific example.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. And so exactly like you said, so one piece that I just wanted to circle back on what you just said about it's too much bother, we're stuck, and here's a system or something that's going to help, and we try it once and then it doesn't work, and so I'm not going to do it. What we do then is we communicate to ourselves that we are not worth it. We are not worth our little bit of effort. But that plays right into my formula. So my formula, the 5 steps, they're all A words. So I'm going to just talk you through what they are, and then I'll use an example and talk you through how they all click into place. So the 5 steps are awareness, acceptance, action, adapt, and aspire. So we're just having a wee bit of a chit chat here about being stuck. It could be stuck with having an emotional issue. It could be stuck with a looping pattern in your mind. It could be stuck making unhealthy choices with your diet or not exercising enough. So first step before you can change anything is, number 1, be aware. You have to be aware, and there's lots of different pieces that I bring into this, like a personal inventory. Where have you come from? What belief systems do you have? What were you brought up believing about mental health, emotional health, physical health? What were they? And there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment in any of these steps. It's just, you can't change or shift through something until you're aware of, here's all the puzzle pieces all out in front of me. In doing that, we will often discover things that we don't like. We might discover I've got a habit that says I procrastinate, or I'm not worthy, or there's no point in trying that because everybody else in my family, blah, 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 right? So we can't get to action until we just accept everything. You can't change anything about yourself or get rid of an unhealthy habit until you accept, this is what I do. It's not right or wrong. And here's a key piece, and a lot of my clients, we have to talk them down off this one, is acceptance doesn't mean you're keeping it. But acceptance means it is what it is. I'm not judging myself. I'm not shaming myself, because when we do that, it just makes it so much harder to move through.
Yeah.
Then step number 3 is action. So now we're aware of where we're at, what the chatter is going on, what we would like to have, and we've accepted is what is. now I'm going to do something. So the action step could just be simply writing out a goal, or trying a new eating system, or doing some meditation, or going out for a walk, or something just to sort of move forward with it. And that lands you into step number 4, which is adapt. Because as you go into action, you become somebody new, where you've taken this inventory, you've accepted the good and the bad, the strengths and the weaknesses, and you're actually starting to do one of these protocols that are going to help you feel better. And all of these they apply to your physical well-being, your emotional well-being, mental well-being, and spiritual well-being. And we need to work on all 4 of those pillars with these 5 steps in order to create this real sense of grounded well-being on all levels of us. So when we adapt and we've got these new systems, you'll find when we take action, you'll find things that don't work for you. And so that's still okay. So I'm just going to adapt to, I'm a person that doesn't resonate with. So what's the next piece I can take? And then the 5th step is you've come through all of this. So now you're not stuck. You're actually starting to up level, to be the next best version of you. So now you get to look forward, look upwards. What do you aspire to be? And you can create a vision for what do you want to step into? And then you start the whole thing all over again. It's a very simple, but very, very powerful way to really create solid, stable change. And that's why I call this mindset cultivation, because really is meeting you where you are and allowing you to feel into that unconditional love that you're looking for. Whether you're aware of it or not, that's what's kind of driving a lot of your choices.
Yeah, I'm hearing through this a lot of even love of yourself going through the process. And I find, I'm sure you see that too, that a lot of people that I know, either in my practice or friends and family, and even myself, I kind of joke sometimes with people. I said, put away the baseball bat, because we're kind of hammering on our own head.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Being more gentle on ourselves. And I know that I personally have a tendency to be hard on myself, but it's just learning to accept. But what I like about your model is that there's action, there's momentum, and there's vision. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza's work.
I love his work. Yes.
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is one of his books. The first time I read that, I'm like, wow, why would I want to break myself here, right? But having read his work now and understanding where he's coming from, it just makes so much more sense. And also listening to you going through those steps, one thing that I'm getting is that we want to do a lot, but I think first we need to focus on being a lot more. So, that be, do, have, we go back often to that, but we tend to forget. So I know that asking ourselves the question, who do we want to be, but not in the general sense of a firefighter or what have you, but the person we want to be, and having that picture in mind, I'm sure can be really helpful.
Most definitely. And back to your point about the be, do, have, we often get it the wrong way around and say, what do I have, or what do I need to do to have more in order to be that? So it's very important to get into that be. Who do I have to be? So give us examples of a situation that you see the clients that you work with that would make it practical. So somebody, oh yeah, I do that, and what would be the steps and the examples? Because on the podcast, it's all about giving people hacks and giving them a definition of a hack. Because I was at the same show you were this past weekend here in Ottawa, and someone said, well, hack is not a negative thing. I said, no, a newer definition of hack is a shortcut or a more efficient way to achieve better results. And I don't know about you, but sign me up for that if I can find a way to be more efficient. So give us some examples. Absolutely. And I love that, because it's reminding, I just had a conversation with a client this afternoon, and I'm going to bring some of that into this conversation. But so I love what you said about hacks, because oftentimes my clients will, because I'm a meditation teacher too, that's another sort of arm of the work that I do. And so many people will say, oh, I'd love to meditate, but I don't have the time. Or, I'd have to get up at 4 a.m. to do all the things that Moira is suggesting you do. So number one hack is time's not the issue. The decision, make the decision to show up and be okay with you. Mm-hmm. So I'm a great believer in creating little mini shortcuts so that you can go and visit that energy of a meditator. Mm-hmm. And so by this, something for your listeners to do is I call it breathing with mantras. And so this is a key piece, and it's playing into some of the steps of what I just shared with you. When you become aware of mental chatter of you're late, you're not getting this done, you're stuck, you're overweight, you've got bad habits, just be aware of them. And as soon as you become aware and you work on the acceptance, in order to shift that energy, you need to shift your energy. And so what I encourage you to do, and this is the hack, is to, on a full in-breath, in your mind, say, I am. And then on a full out-breath, say what you need to feel. So it could be enough. It could be worthy. It could just be here. Mm-hmm. I will often do just, I am here. But that was the client conversation I had just before we came onto this, was that she doesn't feel like she's enough. She's, every time she does something, okay, Moira, I've got 5 minutes of meditation in, but it's not enough. Well, maybe it is enough for right now. So how can you be okay with what is enough at this moment? So that's the hack, that is to just watch your own languaging, and you can do that anywhere. Nobody knows what you're doing, right? Just and choose your word. Somebody, and many clients that I work with have emotional issues, and so I will have them do that technique and just be, I am love. I am love. The thing that's very important is to watch your own languaging, because of the power of that I am statement. The word you use right after I am magnifies. So you don't want to say I am stuck. You could be experiencing a sense of stuckness, but you want to buffer that stuck from the I am. Mm-hmm. But you want to expand things like being enough, being worthy, being kindness, being prosperous, being happy. So that one, to me, that's a brilliant hack, because no matter where you are.
It truly is. And good point with maybe it is enough. And that's one thing that I'm working on. And I was just before getting onto this, I didn't really have time to do a workout, but I really wanted to. I just really felt like I needed to. So I just did half an hour, and I'm like, good enough is good enough.
Yeah.
Meaning that whatever I did is better than if I had not done anything at all. And I think, unfortunately, in society, we put those expectations on ourselves, really. But, who says it should be 20 minutes of meditation? Why is 5 minutes not perfect? Or same thing with workouts. People will say, oh, I don't have the time. Don't tell me you don't have. I always say, do you own a floor? Meaning you can do something everywhere. So that time, I think, is so crucial for people to wrap their heads around that fact. So very good insight.
Absolutely. The other piece that's a hack is the piece about, I'm a big believer in writing things down, because this sense of stuck can often just be an inside job, that you've got all these different pieces. I've always said that I believe we're all multiple personalities. And so that's part of the work I do too, is to actually help you figure out, who are these personas? There's a critic, there's a saboteur, there's a judge, there's a people pleaser, there's somebody who always thinks something's going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. And so these different pieces of us that's kind of saying, well, don't do it that way, and do it that way, and that was wrong, and that was stupid. And so if we just start getting into a habit of writing all of that down, don't judge it, don't say it's right or wrong, you're just giving it a space to be, so that it's not constantly looping around in your mind. And then just come into your heart, put your hand over your heart and be. Remember we just said about be. I'm going to just be here. I'm not going to listen to all that criticism, because those critical things are often based upon patterns that we installed from our subconscious to keep us safe many, many years ago, and they are not applicable now. So it's like to just come in to know it right now, right here. All is well. I am safe.
That amygdala is quite
right.
trying to preserve us.
Trying to preserve us. Trying to always say, "Oh my gosh, you're in danger,"
Mm-hmm.
and actually, no. In this moment, you're not. And so that's an important hack. Actually, you know what? That's the other important part is the physical touch. That's why I really encourage people to, if nothing else, if you don't have the right words that are nurturing and loving and compassionate, just put your hand over your heart, because that reminds you that actually, you know what this does too, is it actually is a release of oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
When we do things like that, we can hug ourselves, we can just and that actually starts to release some of those feel-good hormones in you, which then actually increases your resilience, but also opens the door to your capacity of doing something different, right?
Perfect. Yeah, no, very good. So let's finish walking the process in terms of more examples. So give us something, just trying to think of something that someone could be stuck. One common one is, don't like to be cliche, but weight loss. A lot of time people will say, dang it doesn't matter what I try. I either they really try hard, they can't sustain it, or so how would you walk someone through the process to get unstuck with something like this?
It's a great question, because a lot of people that I've worked with have come through this. So number one, awareness. What is your awareness? What is food to you? Oftentimes when we're carrying too much weight, food has become something that we use for pleasure, for emotion, for when we're lonely, when we're angry, when we're upset. So you need to become aware. And so things like just keeping the writing piece really works well for that. It's just, how did I feel before I ate? How did I feel after? And then I use a technique called EFT tapping, or emotion freedom technique. And so I've actually created a specific recording for that on how to help people just accept, I eat a bag of chips when I'm upset, or I just finished the tub of ice cream. Just in this moment, it's so important to be okay with that, not beat yourself up, because sometimes the weight piece has got an awful lot of emotional components in it. And so by getting into a sense of peace and doing it because you love yourself, so you're loving the weight away. The other part too, I really encourage people to not talk about weight loss. When we talk about loss, there's two things that can happen on a subconscious level. Loss can mean a bereavement, like the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
But also loss can be, I've lost my keys, and so therefore I have to find it. You don't want to be signaling to your subconscious that I'm losing something I might need to go and find.
Very good point. Very good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And so to just so that's about that can be an action step of reframing and using the word releasing. I lovingly release all of the weight that no longer serves me. And another piece that sometimes it's an important part too to have some gratitude, because there could be patterns that you installed to keep you safe based on something else. I worked with somebody many years ago who had been sexually abused as a child, and her weight story was to keep her safe. And so she actually released over 200 pounds simply by saying thank you. She kept saying thank you to her body, thank you to her habits, to her addictions. You kept me safe, and I don't need that now. I'm safe now. And it was really magical, because it empowered her to make the choices with greater ease when she recognized that the problem she had now was based on the solution to a problem she previously had, and that solution becomes a problem. So you get to see that when you start dancing through this awareness, acceptance, action. These are the 3 steps that they're really beautifully morph. And then when you can adapt, okay, so now you could be adapting. You could be a person that has a gratitude journal, or has a journal where you write down the negative thoughts that are saying, you're not good enough, or you're never going to let go of that weight, or those kind of things. And then you get to aspire, this time next year I'm going to go to the beach in a bikini. That kind of
aspiring. Yeah, and I think, you know, in my book, I talk about 3 levels of hacking your habits in this case. And one of the thing that I notice, especially for harder habits to break, I mean, changing deodorant or remembering our vitamins are pretty easy compared to, let's say, stopping smoking or losing weight. And one of the 2 elements that I find that if it's missing in the more complex is celebrating being one of them, and then meaning having something that you're going to reward yourself with, and then the accountability part is huge when it comes to that, right? Because when things are longer, let's face it, in our society we want things quick, we want things fast, unfortunately. It's become really ridiculous. Like, I mean, even I sometimes on the computer, one of the computer at the clinic is slower, and I'm like, dang, you know, why is it so slow? And really, it's really not that slow, but it's slower than the rest. And we forget that healing takes time.
It absolutely does.
Physical healing and emotional healing.
All forms of healing takes time. And, you know, we I think we mentioned this already, is that allowing that process is telling yourself that you are worthy of it. When we get into that's taking too long and I don't have the time and don't have the patience, it's kind of saying, yeah, you're not worthy of me sitting in and doing what it takes to come through this. Right? So yes, we do need to unplug from that sort of quick fix thing.
Yeah. And it is sad how many of us and how many people we don't feel worthy of things. And do you have any insight on that, or why are we like this? What's, you know, I know our brain is trying to protect us most of the time, and a lot of our emotions or actions are based on that. But why is it that we have a lot of people have a lower sense of self-esteem?
I think the biggest thing that in the work that I do is that we're not taught to be best friends to ourselves. We kind of judge ourselves based upon what we think other people think we are or we should be. And there's such a gap between that, because where's the space to sit down and say, who do I want to be? What fills my cup up? What makes me, where's the joy for me? Where's the sense of kindness, of belonging? And it doesn't have to take a big amount of time, but it's like claiming your right to sit into that. Claiming, I have a really good friend that's what she I love how she does this. She talks about, we all have the right to claim our sovereignty, but we're not educated for that. And so what does it mean to be in your best power, in your aligned with your own purpose, with your own sense of meaning? That's what drives a lot of us, is where's our meaning? What gives us meaning? And we all have a unique piece in that.
And this is something that unfortunately we're not taught at school.
No.
Maybe it is, there is more awareness to that. I know sometimes I see videos on Facebook of kids meditating and so forth, but
yeah, it's happening.
I think there is a shift, but we have a lot of room to shift. And sometimes as parents, you know, again, we say things to our kids and it's just to make sure they're protected and they're safe. And sometimes I'm hearing myself, I say, what did I just say here? This is not what I should be saying, right? So it's our languaging is so important, because, you know,
words have such power.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, Moira, we could go on and chat and give many more examples. So for the people that want to work with you, because the beauty of your work is you are here in Ottawa, Canada, but people can work with you from all over.
All over the world. Absolutely.
You know, with the awesome technology that we have. So if you don't mind saying the name of your website and how people can reach you.
Absolutely. So my website is wellnesswithmoira.com. That's WELLNESS WITHMOIRA, wellnesswithmoira.com. And you can reach me through my website, wellnesswithmoira.com, or on Facebook, Wellness with Moira. That's I have a page there and actually do weekly Facebook Lives, so that I actually do little mini readings on people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I know you have many tools in your toolkit, which
I do.
is awesome. And I think as health practitioners, it's, we need to follow our instinct and adapt to the person that we're working with, because we all have different needs. So thank you so much, Moira. It was a pleasure. And thank you for your insight. And hopefully those not hopefully, I know if people implement those 5 steps, they're gonna get unstuck and go through better success physically, emotionally, and mentally. So until next week for our next episode of the What the Heck podcast, this was Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Nathalie Beauchamp, and this is What the Heck, the podcast that dives into what the heck is going on in the world of health and well-being, explores how to optimize your mindset and your lifestyle, and shares practical tools so that you can achieve your fullest potential. Join me and a special guest each week as we discuss everything from biohacking to diet personalization to cutting-edge detox methods to setting and staying accountable to your goals. Ready to find out what the heck you can do to stay healthy, sharp, and at the top of your game? Let's get started. This has been a Wellness on the Go production.